A motion to open the meeting? Moved by Ellen.
Second.
Second by Amanda. All in favor?
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moments out. Thank you. Superintendent, the floor is yours.
So, this on? Perfect. So, good evening. I don't open it that loud. I don't think there's that many. But so, good evening. This is the 2022 budget presentation by the Superintendent of Schools, Business Administrator, and Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Gina Williams, John Shea, and myself, Liz Lagoza, Superintendent of the East Bridgewater Public Schools, so that we can have a budget hearing in front of our town and our school committee and talk about where our funding is going, what we did with it last year, where we're doing for it this year. I know that people are very excited with the latest news. We are excited with the latest news. We're not going to discuss the reopening of schools, but it is on the horizon. We are very excited to have CVS join with Johnson & Johnson, and that came out this morning very early for teachers and K through 12 and all educators or people who work in a school district to be vaccinated, and we'll be getting more information. The governor then at 10 a.m. came out and gave us a date that he will open up the bigger regionalized vaccination sites. He came out at 10 a.m. this morning, and we got some information later this afternoon, and that is for the 11th for all K through 12 or all school personnel. That will include our transportation, our Lucini bus drivers. That will include our cafeteria workers. That will include our teacher assistants, faculty, administration, our secretarial association, our custodial association. So we're getting there. All of our nurses have been vaccinated this year. All of our veterans that we have in the district have been vaccinated or had their first vaccination. And all of our teachers who have the licensure certification through the Department of Health, I forget that certification, Department of Health. It's our OT, our occupational therapist, our physical therapist, our speech pathologist. They have a different licensure from the Board of Health and Human Services cert. I forget what it's called, but not only do they have a DESE certification, they also have an alternative certification from the state board. So they have been able to get their first vaccination. So as it seems limited, it's still in the right direction that we are having people vaccinated prior to everybody getting the green light. It will take a few days for us to get everybody vaccinated. We are working with the Board of Health. I spoke to Sue Malloy this morning, great advocate for us, for the local Board of Health here in the East Bridgewater. Just talking about how we would do this. I spoke to the Superintendent Bodwell from West Bridgewater very early this morning about coordination with the West Bridgewater CVS. So I know that's on everybody's mind, and I know our students and our parents want some cemented dates and cemented information. I will guarantee that it will come out very quickly. We have a meeting with our principals and all administration tomorrow. Dr. Williams and I will speak to everybody tomorrow. I know that John Shea, Joanne Benner, and all the principals and their assistants in the office have been working on transportation. If you see those buses, or the transportation and the bus route list up, please go to it. Please make sure they're at your stop. Please make sure you know what you need to do and contact your building principal or building office first. No? John?
If parents have any questions, requests regarding busing, they should go online to the website and fill out that form. That would be the best.
Okay.
If they talk to the principals first, the principals are going to refer them to that online form.
So we're still staying online. So it's online first. If you're not getting through, if something happens, if we go down like the state did at any time, call your building principal or the building office and we'll try to get you through. Mrs. Vaughn wanted me to make sure that any parents at home that are having problems with any of their lunches, whether it's grab and go, whether it is school bucks, I know some parents have called and talked about some allergies and some different things. Make sure that you're going and emailing Mrs. Vaughn through food service, or contact your building principal, and those issues will be taken care of. There's a lot of moving parts. We get that. We think that we've moved very well. I think the principals have done a tremendous job. I know they've done a tremendous job. Teachers are doing terrific. They're staying and hanging in there with us just a little bit longer, and our students staying at home, doing what needs to be done, have done a great job. And we got to try to get you back, and we're going to try to do the best that we can. So that's just a little bit. I wanted to get that out of the way so people at home that are watching this evening know that we're not voting, we're not doing anything this evening, and we're not going to really discuss the comeback. It's the school committee has taken their vote on February 23rd, 2021, and decided that we would move forward when the vaccination became available. At that time, that allows us to continue to move. We'll let everybody know what happens in the next few days here. So we welcomed everybody back in October. We weren't sure if we were going to get back. We decided as a group and as a task force that we would come back as a hybrid model. Last year, in 2021, on March 13th, we closed our doors for the remainder of the school year. At that time, our budget was passed for the 2021 school year. Or it had not been passed at that time. We had no town meeting. If everybody remembers, we weren't there yet. It was just March 13th, and we closed the door. So at that time, it was very nerve-wracking. We have over 300 employees in the district. We have bus contracts. We have food contracts. We have lots of things that are going on that we still needed to pay for at that time, and we do have contracts that needed to be either amended or to change with an MOU, and we did so. John Shea worked with me on several of the contracts. We amended the busing and the transportation contract last year so that we could get through to the end of the year, which helped us tremendously to have funding moving forward. We also were able to pay forward some of our special needs, special education, out-of-district placements, and we're able to pay those forward, and that has been something that has helped and supported the district over the last few years. And Dr. Williams and Mr. Shea worked with some of our companies that we have contracts with, and we're able to keep those contracts going longer than the March 13th because we weren't going to be using some of the things that we had from those companies, and we're able to push those forward. So the things that the companies did that we work with in Massachusetts and the Commonwealth really came up and really supported us during this COVID issue, and they're still supporting us, and I think that everybody who had to be on board was here. Throughout that time, and we've talked about this, but from that time, central office was open and our principals were here throughout those times. And we made a decision that Dr. Williams would remain out of the office in case that I was sick, and then she would come in, or vice versa. And we made it through. And then come July 1st, we were back in, and we're back. Thought we would be back in by August 30th, 31st, but we came in, I think it was September 16th, 21. So now we're here. So throughout the year, this doesn't stop. Everybody thinks that we make the budget up last week or 2 weeks ago, and we just put it together and say, these are things that we need for the next year. We talk to our principals and we ask them, what are you looking for? What are your supports? It's not that easy. What it is we look the past, where we were, where we're going, and then we also look and forecast for the future of what our needs will be. Whether it is for salary, for our certified professional staff, our non-certified, and they are professional staff, and our non-salary budget or special needs budget on the. So it takes all of those things to put them together to come up with a budget process. And some of the things that put together is, what drives the budget, increases year to year, is fairly consistent, typically includes the salary increase. What are our contractual obligations to our teachers, to our teacher assistants, to our administrators, to our TAs, to our custodians, everybody who works here, we have an obligation to pay. And what does that look like? How many retirements do we have? How many positions are we not renewing? Meaning we may not need this program anymore, maybe we moved it to another different area. So we look at all of those things all throughout the year. We look at changes due to enrollment. We've had a decline in enrollment over the last few years. We have a lot of kids that still continue to want to come to East Bridgewater for school choice, which has supported our budget and supported us. However, we do have a declining enrollment in East Bridgewater. We look at special education. We look at the transportation and other services, vocational ed, transportations, and what those costs are, our technology needs. This was huge this year. We had one-on-one for all of our students. We bought hotspots. We increased our bandwidth in the buildings. We bought laptops for all of our teachers due to the fact that the iPads, what we had given the Chromebooks, or they had desktops in the school, and possibly they didn't have that at home, or they had just an iPad at home. It just wasn't sufficient for the needs that they had to instructionally use for their students being at home. So for us putting them at home and saying this is where you're going to teach from, we needed to make sure that they had the right supplies. So that was, we've gone through a lot of software, a lot of apps, a lot of computers, a lot of service contracts, a lot of things that have been going on, and I think we have done a tremendous job. Mr. Shea and the IT department have kept up with our needs. We are adding another IT person, which will be coming in for this year's budget, and hopefully we'll get that person on sooner than later, but we need more hands on deck. We also look at our grants, our circuit breaker, our user fees, etc., and what are the impact of changes in outside revenue sources, and that's what those are. I'm public education, went through public education, my parents were public educators, and I think I've said this every year. I still believe that kids don't and should not, and parents should not pay user fees for athletics and band and other areas of public education. Public education is free and should be offered opportunity and access for all for free. However, you're always up against a budget, and you're always up against making sure that students have supplies and that they have the needs to be in the workforce of moving forward, and not the 20th century, but the 21st century work skills and beyond. And where is that going? What do we need? How do we support that? And where our teachers need to have. So as we have those user fees, we continue to work on trying to get rid of those user fees. And we will continue to do that. Our bus fees are very low. I have not increased the bus fees. Our lunch fees have stayed pretty stagnant. I think we need to raise them next year. That's not us, that's the state. DESE tells us that we must raise our food price, so we will do that, I think, and it's nominal. It's not a lot for next year. Sometimes I think we went from 67 cents for milk to 77 cents, so, or 69 cents. So it's something that we need to make sure that we put in the budget and that we know about. But I always will look to try to save our parents money because it is a public school. So I know a lot of people look at this number and they say, and this is a little bit about, we still rank 313 out of 320 public school districts in the Commonwealth, and that it's $13,115 that is per pupil expenditure. So we are low. However, I look at this number, and yes, it is low, and I don't want to be 313 out of 320, and I want to make sure that we're allocating as much funding as we can for to get a professional staff to be able to support students in all of their needs that they want, or all of the needs that we need to provide. I do think, though, that the district is doing better than that number indicates. We need more help from our town. Yes, we need to look at the budgeting formula that the town uses, and we always want more, and we always can use more. However, I just want people at home and everybody to know that and we will not shortchange our students that are in front of us today or next year, even when this number is like this. We need to remember as a town that what is our most important entity? It is our children. It is our schools. And we need to remember that. They're not widgets. We don't make widgets. We make young men and women to be able to have a skill, whether it's upon graduation, going to a 2-year, a 4-year, a technical school, or being able to be skilled here, and hopefully over the years, possibly having a CADS program or other programs that we have been bringing in over the last year. So as much as this is difficult to look at, it's hard for me to look at. I know that Mr. Shea constantly is pushing and pushing and pushing the town to increase that for our student body. I just want people to know that we will, and we will try not to ever shortchange our education because of that number. But the town needs to recognize that and continue to help and support when we ask for help and support. So we're still on this strategic plan in these 4 areas of curriculum instruction, social emotional wellness, professional development, and technology. So this year, due to COVID and due to not being able to have a retreat, we've continued these 4 areas, because these are the 4 areas that we will continue to work on. You must have a robust curriculum instructional program that teaches 21st century skills, that has the frameworks of the Department of Education of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and that supports where kids want to and are going and the needs that are going to be in the workforce coming up. Social emotional wellness, we continue to increase our budget or our allocation into that area. Professional development, Dr. Williams will talk about curriculum instruction and professional development this evening, but professional development, we've taken that on as a district. We have a very robust professional development program, and I'll let Dr. Williams talk about that. And technology, we could not have survived in COVID without technology. Could not have done it. It wouldn't have been done. So these are our 4 areas. I'm glad we picked these 4 areas 6 years ago, but we have another area to add. And I hope to see this, and this is why this next slide is in bright orange or bright green. This is our district strategic plan continued. Our district is planning a retreat for the summer to revise, plan, and update goals and our areas. The district will include a diversity and inclusion, another area of which we need to work on as a district. We have lots and lots of children, lots and lots of families in this district. No one should feel as if they are not a part of the district. Everyone is included, and we need to make sure that everyone feels included and that they are a part of the East Bridgewater public school system. that is a place where we need to put some time and energy into. Both Dr. Williams and myself have put time and energy into this year, along with many of our clubs, our teachers, and a lot of our programmatic areas we are working on. This is not going to be a switch overnight. This is a systematic issue throughout this country, probably throughout this world. It's not just one group of people, it's all and everyone. So we need to look at it, make sure that we are designing the program, make sure that we're working on our programs, and make sure that everyone feels as if they are included and that we do have a diverse workforce. And how do we continue, when we hire, what's our human resources program do? How do we hire? Not just different languages, race, ethnicity. We need to look at all of those things from where I stand to where my pre-K youngest student is. Am I comfortable in this district? And is my youngest pre-K student comfortable in this district? So we need to figure some of those things out, and we are working to do that. And due to COVID restrictions, we didn't have the retreat. But we have been meeting. We have had professional development. We have been working with the EBCCC. We have been working with other groups. We have been working with John Phelan, our special education director, because inclusion is part of this group. We need to be inclusive of all. So it's not just one group, it's not just one race, it's not just one ethnicity, it's all people, it's everyone in this district, it's all people, men, women, it doesn't matter. We're all part of East Bridgewater Public Schools, but we've got to get there we got to get to the same goal line. So that's part of the strategic plan, and we will allocate funds in that area, and that's why the strategic plan is there. It drives the budget. And this is where we are today. $18 million on our salary. Our non-salary is $3.3 million this year. $21 million subtotal. We pay our Lucini bus transportation is $924,000. And our total budget that was allocated from the town is $22,428,504. And the picture on the side that everybody's looking at is our football team from Monday at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. We had 150 desks delivered from FedEx Monday morning at 10, and we asked, I think Mr. Shea went out and asked Mr. Leonard if he could send over the boys' football team, who are now practicing outside every night and had a game today at Cardinal Spellman, or a scrimmage at Cardinal Spellman. And the coach was happy enough to have them jog over, bring in all the desks for us at Central School so that we can get them ready to go so that when we start. So that's where we are today. Some other COVID-19 funding, and this is where we are today and what we have spent this year and what we will spend this year. Our CARES Act, we received almost $1.4 million in CARES Act money. In the Coronavirus Prevention Relief Fund, we received $91,000. Our ESSER 1, this is a grant from the federal government through the state, $153,584, and it's based on a formula from Title I, and they use Title I, which we don't have a huge Title I group, but we're not a Title I full school, and that's how they come up with that formula. And then our remote learning and tech grant is $15,000. All of these monies are being used at this time, have been used at this time, will continue to be used at this time, and we will probably, most likely, by June 30th, these monies will be gone. And that's my buddy Huey. He is a pre-K in the pre-K school, and he came over to me one day and he wanted to pull my mask off, and so we decided that we'd have a picture with both of our masks on. So right now, this is where we're at and what we spent it on. We spent $358,000 on supplies and equipment, the PPEs, our technology and hardware, laptops, Chromebooks, webcams, access points, over a little bit more than $500,000, $566,894. Our educational software and other supply services increases to online licenses, additional online programs, $124,000, $122. Facility related, $162,703. You've seen a lot of things different in the buildings. Salaries for monitors, more custodian and extra nurses and LPN, $146,000 additional, which, as you can see, we're right on $1.3 million. We'll continue to spend this money, and I will say this, it has supported us immensely. We could not have been and done all of this without it. So we were, it's generous. This came, we worked with Plymouth County, and Plymouth County received the monies and then allocated to the towns. Brian Noble and the selectmen have been great with us throughout this entire time. Mr. Shea, it's not easy though, because every receipt that comes in, it must be absolutely tied to coronavirus, COVID, and the receipts had to be sent up in a timely fashion from John Shea's office. And one of our great accomplishments that we got through, that we were hoping to have this really beautiful before and after care center and really have this really beautiful place for kids to go at before and after school and to have some different things going on, turned into our new daycare and our new remote learning center down at the Mitchell School. We also rented a building down the street for some time at TJ Smith's. However, parents felt they wanted them more up here. We got more kids up here, so that worked. But if you've been down, if you have not seen that room, I know that Tim and Trista and Ellen toured the buildings today. The next 3 will come on Friday from the school committee. That room is a fantastic room. You wouldn't believe what it looked like last summer to what it looks like today. It's been repainted. It has a new HVAC system, new carpet. It's a really great place. It's a great learning center. And we hope that we will continue to keep this open for the remainder of the school year, and then we'll look at other opportunities for next year for that room, and it will go back to a before and after care room and daycare. Dr. Williams?
Good evening. So I'll speak to the curriculum as well as professional development. And to echo the sentiments of the superintendent, we're very thankful for the CARES Act money, because I know that had we not received that money, what would have taken the biggest hit in the district is our curriculum and our professional development. Those would have been the first things that needed to go. So due to having that funding, we have been able to keep on track with our curriculum review cycle and the professional development offerings that our teachers need and deserve. Highlighted for you in yellow is where we are this year. It's a little amazing to think that next year we'll complete our 6-year review, and we'll be starting from the beginning. We started this process back in 2016, where we developed a 6-year review, and you may remember that we made it 6 years because most of our licenses run for 6 years. So the textbook licenses were all tending to come in for 6-year commitments. So it just made sense that we would do a 6-year review. You may also remember that we talked about splitting ELA. ELA is, English Language Arts, is our biggest content area from a funding perspective, as well as dealing with a year of COVID. We decided that we would split the ELA year of pilot and purchase, so that just 7 through 12 was working on their pilot and purchasing ideas for their ELA curriculum, and we would give K to 6 a little bit of a breather, and they would focus on arts and music. That will flip-flop next year. We actually had the whole district focus on arts and music, but then next year we'll only be looking at K to 6. So we'll have a little bit of a break, but it will still get us to stay on track with our curriculum review, and so that we'll be ready to move forward with the next content area. This has really gained traction with the staff. They understand the cycle as we've gone through the years, so they really know to be thoughtful in what they're choosing, knowing that it will be 6 years before we look at that content area again. Certainly there are things that come up along the way that we need to consider. It's not totally black and white, but for the most part, they know that when they're making commitments to the resources that they need and trainings that they need in their content area, they know they need to strike while the iron is hot during their year of the cycle review. So this year is our year of our full implementation of all the new social studies that we worked on for last year. So I put down in the corner here just to let you know, we did add new social studies electives at the high school. The junior senior high school has a really great process for determining the needs of electives. The lead teachers meet with their departments, they meet with administration, they talk about the current electives that they're running and whether they should continue running them based on the enrollment within them, and then make proposals for new electives to bring in. This year they brought in 2 new electives, African American Studies and Battles Throughout History. So those are 2 new electives, and we're looking at a civics elective at the high school level. Right now we have 8th grade civics, which is a fairly new curriculum for us as well. This is the 2nd year of the program. It was piloted last year. It's a 2-part pilot. And the state is requiring that all students graduate from high school with a completed civics action project. So 8th grade is really an introduction, an opportunity for them to learn about civic responsibility. And at the high school level, we should be getting them more engaged with the community and how they can be participants in civic responsibility. So I was really pleased to hear that we had a choice. They could either embed civics within one of the existing courses, which would have probably been U.S. history because all students need to take U.S. history, or we could create an elective. It was determined that it will be an elective at the high school level. It will be a graduation requirement, so we will make sure that every student gets that semester of civics. And it doesn't impede on all the things that need to be covered in U.S. history. And that was our concern, that if we embedded it within a current course, then certainly something has to give, because already those courses are full with content that needs to be covered. So very exciting that we'll have that. We'll give you more information as it's developed. But even working with the town, we're looking to get town departments involved so that we can have guest speakers coming into the classroom. We'd like students to be more civically involved in the organizations and committees that are existing within the town, making proposals for a project and then seeing a project to completion as part of their graduation requirement. And then with foreign language, that was part of social studies, so they have received new textbooks, both hard copies for their classrooms and online licenses. That will be moving to world language within the program of studies next year, but we did purchase both French and Spanish text and online licenses. The next slide is just an overview of the professional development that we've been able to do this year, which, to look at it, it is, you know, I think pretty impressive that our staff have been engaged in all of these things with the dynamic of COVID and hybrid learning on top of it. They've been engaged in all of these pillars. As the superintendent mentioned, we front-loaded the technology. Those first 10 days for staff were all about technology integration, what we needed for licenses, to increase licenses, to offer the license to more grade levels who might not have been using it, and then to get the teachers all the training they needed so that they could effectively implement those licenses. For For professional development, we've had guest speakers present. All of our professional development have been virtual, but we have had spectacular keynote speakers focusing on not only the social, emotional needs of our staff so that they can better take care of themselves and their students, but also how we work with students in the classroom or virtually to make sure that their social, emotional needs are being met. As the superintendent mentioned, we will be incorporating into our strategic plan equity and diversity. We've already begun that work, and so it will be great that as we move these initiatives forward, they will be embedded within our strategic plan. So I included those activities as well. You've heard me talk sometimes ad nauseum about universal design for learning, but that's embedded throughout everything, including inclusion within equity and diversity. We want to make sure that we break down all barriers for all students. So we are continuing with our principles of universal design for learning. We have 5 staff members now who have been trained to teach graduate level courses. So starting next year, we will be providing for our staff at no cost graduate level courses that then for an additional fee through, I believe it's Gordon College, they can get the graduate credit, and opening it up to area districts for a cost that will then be able to allow us to purchase textbooks and resources that we need for our own staff. And that's what we do right now for our book clubs. We're offering book clubs in both the equity, diversity, and the universal design for learning. Our staff take the book clubs for free, and we charge staff members from outside the district $25 to take the book club, and we use that money to buy the books for our staff, so they receive the book and the training at no cost. And then lastly, curriculum. Most of that is the social studies, because that was the year, last year was the pilot year, this is the implementation year, and we wanted to make sure that our staff members received the needed professional development so that they could implement those new programs. So a little overview of all that's gone on with professional development this year.
So as you can see, this is how we base, this is our enrollment. And where we were in 2012 to where we are and projected in 2022. And in 2016, when I began, we were at 2297. And 6 years later, we're at 2085. So we can see that we've lost. We see that we've added in some, in kindergarten, that's where we know where we're at and where we're moving forward. And each year, we wait to see those numbers on kindergarten sign up and to see what our enrollment and what our projections are going to look like. And this helps us with our budget, helps us with our Chapter 70 funding and where we're going to be and what will be allocated to us, and then how we will need to progress forward. But we also know that we do have people moving into East Bridgewater for the schools, and we will start to see that. We have young families. The census has told us that young families are buying homes in this district, in East Bridgewater, that may have young children who are not pre-K, preschool age as of yet, or have not started their families yet. So that's a good indication that we may start going back up. So our budget, and this is where we're going from for this year, or for this upcoming year. Our salary is at $18,666,478, which is a change from our prior year at $486,374, or an increase of $486,000. Our non-salary, you see, we went down by $11,000, and that $3.3 million is in special needs. special education, and that 11,000, I believe, is we had an out-of-district placement. That out-of-district placement is no longer our responsibility, and so that puts that money back into that budget line. So we're $21,979,438. Change from last year is an increase of $475,000. Did some great work working on a contract with Lucini. $936,000 more, or $936,000, $11,000 more than the year prior. Our total is $22,915,438, or $486,000 more, $934 from last year, which is a 2.17% increase to our budget. I am very pleased with the way our budget is handled by all of the departments. Dr. Williams' lane, John Phelan does a tremendous job in special education. The contracts that John Shea and I worked on, we kept them tight, especially in transportation, which is a support for us. We couldn't, almost, if you look at Mitchell School, all those buses are packed when they come in. So we need buses, we need transportation, and so that is a big part of our budget. So we're doing well. I know that the town wanted us to come in at in this area. We did come in at this area. The COVID money certainly, the supports certainly helped us from Plymouth, the Plymouth County CARES Act, and going forward, our contracts have helped us. But we also have 4 contracts that we are in negotiations at this time. In other areas, our Secretarial Association, our Custodial Association, our teacher assistants, our instructional assistants, and our assistant principals. So we'll see those next year hit the budget and where they will be. So the only new positions as of today that we are looking at that will go into this FY22 budget is, and we will be taking this out of school choice, is another IT technician for technology. We cannot continue to run around like field mice here, trying to get from building to building and to keep these buildings running at 100% capacity throughout the day with 2 guys who've done a tremendous job, Josh Kavanaugh and Andrew Lamacchia. They have really done a great job for us. And Aaron Fisher works with Dr. Williams and gets into classrooms and works with teachers on a lot of the professional development on the instructional side. And we need help. We need help to keep these batteries going. We need help to keep these screens up. We need help to make sure that if a student is having a problem, that it comes in and it gets right back out to them as soon as possible. And we also need somebody in our human resource payroll department here at central office. We do have this person already in central office. She has been with us over a year and a half, and she had a part-time position. We will be increasing that to a 0.5, and she will be a 1.0 employee for the district. We cannot handle the amount of hiring, personnel changes, and payroll, the amount that comes in and goes out without having another person. It's becoming to the point, it's just overloading the system in central office. And those are really the only 2 positions that we are asking for above and beyond at this time in this FY22 position budgets. We have spoken to the principals, and you're going to see a slide in a minute that'll change a little bit. The principals felt at this time that we've done very well over the last 6 years of getting people in places and having health and wellness teachers, English teachers, math teachers, grade 3, grade 4, pre-K teachers, K1, 2 teachers. we've done a good job at getting all of those retirements that we never filled prior to Dr. Williams and I coming up to central office. Some of those positions were never filled. All positions that were empty at one time, from whether it was lack in funding, lack in enrollment, we didn't think we needed the position, or a retirement, we have refilled all of those positions, and we are at capacity of across the line for getting teachers into places and certified people into the right places. Do we always need more hands and more teachers, more instructional assistants? Absolutely. Absolutely. However, today might not be the time to do that. So we need to be resourceful, and we need to make sure that we have what we need for the students, first and foremost, and then we'll go from there as we move forward. The biggest place we see most of our hands, as you probably would expect, is central school. We need a lot of hands because there are a lot of people over there called little Vikings that need a lot of support. And as we move up the line from 3 through 6, the supports get less of the hands that the kids need hands on. However, we still need a lot of people in 3 through 6. And one of the initiatives, as you remember, what we did, or what we started to do, is that I wanted to make sure that we had, not on each team, grades 3, grade 4, grade 5, and grade 6, is that we would have an inclusion teacher on each of those teams. We have filled that, and we have fulfilled that obligation. And that happened this year, and that will come in for the 20, and as we move forward. So grade 3 is full, grade 4 is full, grade 5, and grade 6. I wish that I could tell you that we have seen a bump in our assessment scores. However, we didn't take MCAS last year. It's hard to go against that. We've also had a slide, and I know that Dr. Williams didn't talk about this tonight. She probably will at a later date, but our MAP scores and our assessments. Because the students are not in front of us every day, we have seen a slide backwards. We know that we will need remediation. We know that we will need intervention. We know that we will need extra supports. That is something that we are looking at, and in a minute you're going to see a next slide. It's going to say ESSER 2 on it, and that's where we're going to get some of that help from. Because we may not need remediation for a long time. It may just be a quick remediation. Dr. Williams does have some things in the works that we are looking at and bringing in supports, and the principals are looking at different ways on how to do remediation. This is what it looks like. This is our pie. This is our pie chart. And yes, most of the pie is salaries. But it's not as big of a pie that it used to be. We're getting more and more allocated outside of this, and this is really mostly salaries on this grid, but we're getting better at looking at this pie chart and getting more monies allocated towards our students, which I'm very proud of. And this is more of looking at budgetary for salaries. So teachers and professional staff are your biggest, and they're 14 million. Our instructional assistants, in the pie chart from the budget, we pay them $465,000. But from the additional grants that we receive, we pay our instructional assistants $487,000 out of that, which supports us in our budget. Our custodians are in the yellow, and our admin assistants in the red. And admin assistants are secretaries in the main offices. So here, again, you saw that other green slide. This is another green slide, and it doesn't look like anything else because it's not in that budget. But this is where we will see some different things coming out. ESSER 2 is elementary and secondary emergency relief. Right now, we are earmarked, or what we have projected and what they have given John Shea's, given our allocated or presumption would be about $565,000. And that money has to be earmarked for a certain lane. Those support staffing that I was talking about, anything that has to do with the relief for the coronavirus and the COVID. So we will be looking at that, and what we'll use with some of that money, adjustment counselors, mental health services, for both students and adults. We are not under the assumption that every adult made it through this perfectly and that they don't need any more supports. As you saw, some of the professional development that Dr. Williams brought in helps support our teachers and helps support our students. We're going to continue that role and keep looking at not only student services but adult services. Remediation, intervention teachers. The data will forecast what areas and what levels where these teachers will go, where these supports will go. Again, the principals will tell us, you know, is it in reading in the 3rd grade? Is it a 2 to 3 3rd grade transition? Is it in mathematics in 9th grade? Where are we seeing a slide? Where do we see kids starting to drop back? In what areas, what levels, what supports do they need? Where do we need to get it into as soon as possible? Additional technology. That's going to be a game changer for the next, you know, for however long. And we will continue to add the technology and continue to support what we can. Increase PPEs. We just bought 150 new desks for the central school. I don't know if when you bought those hexagon tables, Dr. Williams, when you were principal over there, probably not that long ago, maybe 10 years ago, lots of tables, because we went to tables because we wanted kids to sit together and to collaborate and to work as partners and to read together and to paint together and to push each other and to create fun, creative ways of learning together. Well, we can't do that this year. We had to separate the students, we had to remove tables, and we bought 150 new desks. That's a cost. That's a PPE for us. We have had a company come in the last Friday, I think yesterday, and I think they're coming in again. We have custom-made shields for desks and tables in the cafeteria. There will be wipes are still at every doorway in every classroom. We still have masks for everybody all the time. We have face shields, glasses. Hand sanitizer. We're doing everything we possibly can to support and continue with the safety protocols. And on the bottom, what additional staffing besides those others that we may need upon review of the needs. We don't know all of those needs until all of these assessments come in, whether we have all of the assessments that the state has to offer. There's been lots of changes over the last few weeks, and we're still waiting to hear some more changes. However, we will continue to support the students and the faculty, instructional assistants, custodians. We actually hired a new custodian today. We look to be hiring a new custodian further along in the year or right before summertime. We're going to continue with our COVID monitors. They are working very well over at the central school, helping with the lunches. But we will continue to support with COVID monitors here at the high school, the Mitchell School, and at the central school. So, although we've had a lot of COVID issues or a lot of safety protocols that we've had to get additional funding for, we've gotten additional funding from the Plymouth CARES Act, and we were lucky to get that money. We're lucky that we have, I believe, a fiduciary in John Shea, one in John Phelan, one in Dr. Williams, and myself. We take a 100% responsibility for this budget. We sit down, we talk about it, we discuss it, we argue, we push each other, not physically, but we do push each other in meetings to say it's okay that Dr. Williams wants to go up from $55,000 in curriculum, she needs to get to $80,000, and we may battle out of how do we get her to 80 when somebody else needs some money, and we figure out how to get there. And it's not easy all the time, but I feel that we do a very good job at getting the kids what they need, regardless if it's in athletics or the band. All of the clubs that we have going on here in the district and in the schools. We continue, I mean, if you look around, the buildings look great. The custodians have done a tremendous job this year. Our cafeteria, as much money as we lost throughout this pandemic, Deb Vaughn and her crew has done a great job. It's trying to stay in this game and has not gone bottom up with her revolving account and continues to do a great job. And I will add this, snacks are coming again. We will be seeing different things in the lines. I know that the kids at the Mitchell School and at the Central School and a lot of parents have been emailing us saying, when were we going to get snacks back? I know that John Shea asked the other day when the ice cream would be coming back and when some of the other snacks would be available for him to test when he walks around or goes to the other buildings to check on things. He loves the Happy Fries at the Mitchell School with the smiley faces on, or smiley fries. They're coming back. The kids love them. We want to please our kids, and that's what this is all about. And so I think this budget, I know this budget is thoughtful. It represents who we are in East Bridgewater. It does what we need it to do in, I'm sorry, East Bridgewater, as I look at Tim. And I feel as if we are moving in the right direction, and we will continue to do. And I do hopefully, at some point, we won't have to pay for some of the things that we do ask our parents to pay for because we are public education. So if there's any questions at this time, John, is there anything we missed or that you wanted to add this evening? Dr. Williams, is there any questions? I know that the subcommittee, we met with Mrs. Pennington, Mr. McLaughlin. Is it Rob on that? Rob, you're with us on that? Teresa Maltz on the subcommittee. So that was passed. I have, we do meet with Brian Noble, our town administrator, very early on. He tells us, hey, this is where we're at. This is where I would like to see you come in. This is what we can do for you from the town. I can tell you, he and I go back and forth because I believe we are number one. We have a tremendous police force, and I want them to get what they need. We have a terrific fire department. I want them to get what they do. We couldn't do a lot of the things that we do without our DPW. It's great, but I really do believe the schools need to go first, and I'm always going to advocate for that. And we did work with FinCom. We've been in meetings with them. John and I have sat through, I think, 2 or 3 of the subcommittee meetings, continue to go back and forth. They have been good with us. They've asked questions. They ask the right questions. They want to know some things. They want to know about professional development. They want to know what the ESSER 2 grant is. They want to see their Plymouth CARES Act money where it goes through. So we're all on the same page, and that's a good thing, because some towns and schools are not on the same page, and you can see that. In East Bridgewater, we work to be on the same page because we want our kids to be supported and feel supported. So if there's no questions, oh, I'm sorry, Trista and then Tim.
Just a question, when you were reviewing the enrollment slide, and I know it's projected, but for the 7th grade, it's projected, for incoming 7th graders, correct? It's projected to be down 27. Now that's typically when most families make a decision of whether or not they're going to go the private school route versus remain in public. Is that, based on that forecast, is that what appears to be the primary reason?
Private schools, yes. We did have an uptick in private schools. Private schools were open, and Catholic schools were open. When the public schools had shut down, went either hybrid or remote, some parents said, no, I'm going to go to a Catholic school or I'm going to go to a private school that is open. My hopes are that they will be back at some point, and I would say that many will come back. Tim?
I just want to say, I hope the people in this town realize that what's in front of us right now is the result of your hard work over the last few years to set us up like this. You know, I know that there's a lot of local districts, my own in West Bridgewater included, where we're contemplating very painful cuts right now because the pandemic has really killed our budgets. And your hard work with the town and communication with the town is setting us up for a situation like this. It's really evident right now. We're not talking about cuts. We actually have a little bit of wiggle room to add some positions, and I don't think there's too many districts around here that are doing that right now. So kudos to you.
Thank you. And to all, you know, it's not a one person. We really do work together, and we do argue and we do push each other. But we do have a good sense of what needs to happen, and we do meet with our other the other areas of the town, which is a good thing. John?
Amanda, looking at this slide, you're looking at the 7th grade, and your question was why the drop from 181 to 156, I believe? Was it Trista?
Yeah, that's okay. But I'm seeing 7th grade is down 25, and 10th grade, I didn't notice initially, is 21.
But the 6th grade the year before was 153, so it's just a
You
small
had a
amount.
fall.
Yeah, so 6th grade had 153.
Okay.
And I'm projecting a slight increase to 156 in grade 7.
But it is the Catholic school. It would be.
It's usually the 8 to 9 is where we.
Is where you see it more? Okay.
Well, that all those students would go then to our vocational or the AGS.
Yeah.
So that's why you went from 174 to 145. It's the same
Yeah.
number of kids, but you dropped it down.
Yeah.
And in the next few months, we will talk about a program that we will be bringing into East Bridgewater. We just need a little bit more time. I think it will it'll support a few things up here as we move forward, but we're very excited about this program as well. Any questions?
No, we've come a long way in the last 6.5 years.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Ellen.
Second.
Second by Amanda. All in favor? Aye. Have a good night. We'll see you next Tuesday,
Yes.
and we'll discuss and
It's
vote.
like a week.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll let you know what they...